usually when we talk about the rule tautology, why this is a valid replacement rule is fairly straightforward. After all, if we just took a look at this first top version, let's say you're at a restaurant and someone offers you fries or fries, well, that's just the same thing as them offering you fries, right? Going the other way, let's say you're almost done with your meal and you have some fries left on your plate and you want to share them, and so you offer them to your friends and you ask them, well, do you want some fries or some fries? And all you've got on your plate are fries. And similarly with the conjunctive version of tautology. Now, where people usually have some more questions is why anyone would ever say, do you want fries or fries? Or I have fries and fries. And so sometimes it's harder to see where within a proof context you would want to use tautology or where to look out for use of tautology. And that's what this video is going to focus on, is a tactic for tautology, and it's a tactic that pairs tautology with constructive dilemma. Let's start by taking a look at an argument like this, which is a very common thing that people say all the time. I'm damned if I do and I'm damned if I don't. Either I do or I don't, so I'm just damned. This is, of course, constructive dilemma, but as we see, we can't complete the proof of this argument without taut. First things first, we need to get this translated into propositional logic. Let's use I for I do, and D for I'm damned. In that case, the first premise translates as, if I do, then I'm damned, and if I don't, then I'm damned. Premise 2 translates as, either I do or I don't. And of course our desired conclusion is just that I'm damned. Now when we look at this, this is clearly constructive dilemma. Constructive dilemma says that we have to have a conjunction of two conditionals. We've got that in line 1. We have to have a disjunction. We've also got that in line 2. And more importantly, the antecedent of one of the conditionals has to be one of the disjuncts, and we've got that. And the antecedent of the other conditional has to be the other disjunct, and we've also got that. Now here's where it can get a little counterintuitive, at least initially. Students see that the conclusion of a CD move is supposed to be Q or S, and sometimes there's the mistaken belief that then this disjunction has to be of two different sentences. But if you take a close look at constructive dilemma, what's being derived is the consequent of the first conditional with a disjunction, and then the consequent of the second conditional. In other words, given these two ingredients, the disjunction that we're deriving is the consequent of the first conditional with a wedge, and then the consequent of the second conditional. And this is going to be 1 and 2 CD. Now remember that lowercase letters are statement variables. They stand in for any formula of the propositional logic, and Q and S could be different. That's how we've normally seen CD up until now, but they don't have to be different, and that's what we're seeing here. All that has to happen for CD to be legal is that the disjunction is the consequent of one of the conditionals with a wedge and the consequent of the other conditional, and again, that is exactly what we have here. And then now this is where tautology or the taut rule comes into play. Obviously at line 3 we do have, at least in meaning, our desired conclusion. I'm damned or I'm damned. Well, I just am damned, right? But the expression at line 3 is not exactly our conclusion, even though it means the same thing, and so we're not done with our proof yet. At least not until we use tautology on line 3 to derive exactly our conclusion. And so this is the tactic. There are other instances and circumstances in which we'll use tautology, but a common one is in combination with CD. Now, because I messed up with last week's problem set, you've already seen this proof, and you've already seen this proof completed. But this was supposed to be on one of your practice sets so that you could use this CD taut combination. Let's just run through it, make sure that we see how this proof develops and how it makes use of that CD taut tactic. Always identify your main operators first. That just sets the stage in your mind on what the rules might be, where things might be going in terms of developing the proof. But then whether you're talking through or working backwards or just doing whatever you legally can, you're also just looking for matching patterns. And of course here we do have something very close to the CD pattern. The only thing that we're missing is that the conditionals at lines 1 and 3 aren't actually in the form of a conjunction, but that's easy to solve. Now that we've got a conjunction of two conditionals, and those conditionals have antecedents that match with the disjuncts of a disjunction, now we're in a position to actually use CD. Lines 2 and 5. And the disjunction that we'll be deriving will be between the two consequents of these two conditionals. So that'll be M or M. Now this is where we're using that CD taut tactic. It's not the only time that tautology is going to be useful, but it is a somewhat common combination. And of course, once we've derived M, we're very close to deriving our conclusion. M is the opposite of the right-hand disjunct at line 4. It's not the negation, but it is the opposite. But that means that we are very close to being able to use DS. All we have to do is double negate the M at line 7. Now we do have the negation of the right-hand disjunct, and that means we may derive the other disjunct. And that's the proof for number 10 on problem set 5.